Fallout is one of those games where, much like Resident Evil, I never really had any interest in playing. The older games like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas just never really appealed to me. But when it comes to Fallout 4, it was originally just a way for me to kill time during Google Meets I had for school. And then shortly after, I found myself wanting to proceed farther into the game and actually sit down and play it. I have played Fallout 4 two times in my life. The first time was simply for my own amusement, and the second playthrough is what you're currently watching. Very similar to the games like BioShock and Alan Wake, I didn't care about playing this game until my friend recommended it to me. In fact, many games I've come to love over the years have been games that he's recommended to me, like Red Dead Redemption. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. That is exactly how this happened. He kept telling me how great the game was, and after years of him telling me to play it, I finally did. I really enjoyed this game. The entire game starts out with a bang, with one of, if not my favorite introductions to any video game of all time. After the amazing introduction, around 3 to 4 hours in, it kind of felt like it was just lacking in excitement. As you get closer and closer to beating it, much like many games releasing in modern times, it just throws pointless missions at you that are only there to drag out the game's runtime. And after playing the game for the second time, I can officially say that the story is not good. It's not bad by any means. It has some really good character arcs, what with you trying to save Sean and avenging your partner. However, there's so much filler in this game that honestly parts of the game feel unbearable to play. But after a while, I decided I just really didn't care about majority of the story. A little towards the end, there's one moment of the game that left me genuinely surprised, and that was about it. So with Fallout 4 having a mediocre story with really nothing exciting about it, what does that mean for the overall game? In terms of a video game or a movie, there's usually a point where it starts to ramp up. In Fallout 4, there is a point where that happens. Pretty much just as it feels like, okay, here we go, starting to get good, it just ends abruptly. I don't talk about the story in my review videos, but when I tell you this game's story isn't as good the second time around, I 100% mean it. I actually relatively enjoyed the story the first time through. However, on my second playthrough, I definitely noticed the plot holes. Even though the story is pretty mediocre and the game does have some glitches here and there throughout that can hinder one's experience, it still doesn't deserve the amount of hate that it gets. It's widely regarded as just a bad overall game, but in my opinion, that's a tad bit unfair. If you put the story to one side, then you will have one of the most fun, outrageous adventure games out there. It has a near perfect world design, awesome enemies, really cool looking guns, and just a fun time overall. Now with one of the longest intros for a video I've ever done out of the way, sit back and relax as we take a look at Fallout 4. The very first thing you notice is the tone of the game. From the very moment you click on the game and see the main menu, you are rewarded with the best main menu theme of all time. It has a sound of despair, yet intrigue. It's almost like the menu music is telling you what you're about to be in store for. It's very similar to every Bethesda game with it having an orchestra main title theme. Take Skyrim, Oblivion, other famous Bethesda games. Then you click on a new game and you get rewarded with my favorite introduction to a video game of all time. It starts like any normal show or game with you just chilling with your family. And then a guy knocks on your door, asks if you would like to join a list of people who get a spot in the vault. Just as things start to feel under control, the TV plays a chilling news broadcast.
Followed by flashes, blinding flashes, sounds of explosions. We're trying to get confirmation.
What?
We seem to have lost contact with our affiliate stations. We do have coming in. That's confirmed reports. I repeat, confirmed reports of nuclear detonations in New York and Pennsylvania. My God.
After the news anchor tells you reported nuclear detonations in New York and Pennsylvania, the worst thing imaginable happens. The world is officially launched into a nuclear war. This part is very somber, but kind of on the nose as well. That's one of the only times in this entire game that left me feeling uneasy. You, your wife Nora, and your son Sean go to the vault, and then you put on your vault suits and step into a cryo chamber. However, very little did you know at the time that they didn't build that vault for your protection. They built it as an experiment. Your wife refuses to give up Sean, so a mysterious man kills her as the cryo chamber reactivates. Then you walk through the vault, seeing everyone and everything that was once alive just on the ground, turned into nothing but skeletons. This makes it clear to the player how long it's truly been. If you Google how long it takes for a body to become a skeleton, it all depends on the temperature. It usually requires 3 weeks to several years. So if it is several years in this case, then that kind of gives you an idea of how long it's been since Nora was shot. On the ground, you find a Pip-Boy and exit the vault. This is where the game truly begins. And by the way, I love the touch of the screen being blurry and like fuzzy, well over 15 seconds of being out in the sun. This makes complete sense as your character's trying to get used to the sun after being underground for 2 centuries. All that is why this introduction is so amazing and my favorite. It gives the player the feeling of despair and desperation as you're walking out of the vault down towards your old house, where you see dozens of what used to be people turned into nothing more than just another skeleton on the ground. After you get back to your home, you run into Codsworth. He basically tells you, "Hey yo, it's been 200 years. Where you been?" And then this is where the first true gripe I have with the story is. When you're talking to Codsworth and telling him that your son has been taken and Nora was shot, he shows no emotion, like, at all. It's like straight-faced, yeah, my son was kidnapped and my wife is dead. It felt very generic, with the whole "I will save her, I will avenge her and get our son back" very cliche story. Your character seems more angry than upset, and I don't think that's a good thing. If I was in the situation, I'd be both angry but also distraught. Apart from that though, the introduction to this game is amazing, and genuinely the best part about this game. When walking to the vault, you can see people packing up their cars or simply just embracing each other in the heat of the moment. Basically exactly what I said a few minutes earlier, when you exit the vault, that is where the game truly begins. This is the very first time a game allows you to explore beyond a confined space. Fallout 4 is one of my favorite games for a very specific reason. It's very similar to other games like Call of Duty Zombies, Resident Evil, and Halo. It's the background of the game and what led to that point. When you delve into the scenery of Fallout 4, it makes such for a more enjoyable game for me. I find ambience in a video game insanely important. Fallout games have always had the same backstory, but it's interesting every time. The reason Fallout 4 exists is because during what felt like in a normal day, China drops nukes on New York and Pennsylvania and I think other places as well. That led to a full-scale nuclear war that left the Earth to nothing but humans and creatures. And you can see that all throughout the game. You can see massive radiation puddles, or even what used to be just normal animals turned into deer or cows with multiple heads. The people that are left are crazy and mentally unhinged. They all rush you without even thinking about it. They don't care if they die. Even though the world is ravaged by madmen and lunatics, there are still glimmers of hope. When you tell Preston that you were alive before the war, he doesn't treat you like a monster or a rich snob for getting a spot in the vault. He simply sees you as a member of the newly formed Minutemen. The transition of Sanctuary from before the war and after the war is so polarizing. You just joined the new world, while outside the vault multiple generations have gone by. You are a noob to this new style of living, and especially when first rising out of the vault, when your eyes take around 10 to 15 seconds to just readjust to the sunlight. I spent a large majority of this video talking about the introduction. That's because this is not only my favorite introduction to any video game ever, but it's also my favorite part about this entire game. The first 4 hours or so are my favorites, of the 20 plus hours it takes to beat this game. It has the most character development, the best beginnings for the player, my personal favorite stats selection of any Fallout game, I know, and just an overall scary atmosphere. How would you feel if you returned to your home, to your local town, to see it ravaged by time and radioactive fallout? You wouldn't feel normal. It feels so real, and that's what this game lacks all the way through. I love Fallout 4, like genuinely, I love this game. I love the scenery, the characters, some parts of the story, and the overall atmosphere. All the way from the in-game events to the main menu music, it's just all near perfect. If the game had a better story with more moments that left the player speechless, it would be perfect. I want to make a video going over the DLCs for Fallout 4 one day, as I'm playing through them currently. Now, this is being recorded and edited before the Xbox showcase. For years now, I've wanted a new narrative-driven Fallout game, and fingers crossed we get a new one. Well, I highly doubt it, but you can only hope. I can only hope. I want one. Really bad. Even though Fallout 76 has in a way sucked any motivation out of the Fallout community with its disastrous launch, although it has improved massively since then, I highly doubt a new Fallout game will be released anytime soon. After everything we just discussed, why does Fallout 4 still get looked down on? Well, I think the answer is just the same thing that many game series run into after a while. Older people prefer or miss the older games. Like Call of Duty, for example. I would love to return to the Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2 era because Vanguard is not... It exists. Another thing I do want to mention at the end of this video is the only reason the videos are around 10 minutes is because I don't cover the story. If I did cover the story in all my retrospectives, those videos would be well over an hour long each, which I would love to do one day. I hope to one day be able to make a massive, like, multiple hour long video about not only Fallout 4, but the entire Fallout series. There are things about the game I didn't mention, like the cryolator you can find in the vault that you get later on, or just other little hidden things I find incredibly amusing to find. I also didn't mention any quests in the game. I enjoy the quests for the most part, but there isn't really anything that stands out. All the side quests are just unbearable, with them largely being the same thing. There are many quests that are simply, go there, clear out the raiders or ghouls, retrieve this item, and return to me. And just rinse and repeat. Who knows, maybe that's why people don't like Fallout 4. And a large amount of quests, both side and main, feel tedious, repetitive, and the overall same. Although I do believe Fallout New Vegas is a bit overrated, I will say there are quests in the game that have flavor and pizzazz to them. If you put the story to one side, I truly believe this game is a must-play for those who haven't. When it comes to everyone's favorite Fallout game, Fallout 4 is always forgotten about or shunned. As of this moment, I have played through or tried Fallout 4, Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas. And by far, my favorite is Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has a quality to it. I don't exactly know what it is, but there's something about this game that just makes me feel so alive when I play it. In the process of making this video, I fell in love again with this game, and I've been playing it for hours upon hours every day, and it's even gotten into the way of editing this. I've recorded and written the outro for this video multiple times over, and it's because every time I record it and put it in the video, I think of other things I forgot to talk about. The whole reason I made this video was because I love the game, and voice my opinion about why it's so underrated. Overall, Fallout 4 will forever have a special place in my heart, and I will return to the game every few years to relive that feeling. My next retrospective will be on Dead Space, a sci-fi horror game that is receiving a remake earlier next year, and I have some interesting opinions about it.